A buyer's market has returned with a vengeance, something I've been predicting since the beginning of this year. It is now here. So the red hot pandemic era housing market is cooling as historically tight available inventory shows signs of reversing. The days of insane bidding wars, waiving home inspections, putting off an offer of 20% or more over the listed price appears to be over and out. So in other words, what we're seeing is a buyer's market has emerged. This is it. This is the beginning of a 40% downturn. I am predicting, that's right, 40% downturn in all home sales across the entire United States. It's going to be even higher in Europe. It's going to be very similar to what we see in Asia as well, somewhere between 30 and 45%. We could see up to 50% declines in Western Europe. So it's here. We don't have to wait. It's here. And welcome to the recession. The Fed slashes Q2 GDP to 1%, pushing first half of 2022 into contraction. So it's really clear here that the recession, if you have 2 quarters in a row that have negative GDP growth, then that is the official term of a recession. So, this is why bond yields are plunging and rate hike expectations are falling. This all has to do with the confirmation we're getting from the Atlanta Fed, which just confirmed the economy is now in a technical recession. That's a technical term, right? Technical recession. It's in a recession. So going back to the Saturn-Uranus alignment, 2021, 2022, excessive taxation, punitive regulation, and rampant inflation. The way to crush the bourgeois is to grind them between the millstones of taxation and inflation. Vladimir Lenin. This is exactly what is happening. It's happening on a global scale, And what's happening here as well is when we looked at the black box, we did a black box forecast beginning of this year during the 2022 global. We saw the downside rampant transits, using both the transits and solar arcs to the US black box. And what are we seeing now? The direction of the country, where 72% of the country now believes the US is on the wrong track. As you can see, this is where we are today. This is where we are going in 2024. So we haven't completed the downside. We're just like probably now moving into the second phase. So we've got this black box intensity. This is the end of December 2023. So there's a lot more drama to come. So we see how the black box is correlating, matching up very well with the direction of the country. I believe we're going to push past 72.5%. So they say everything is fine. There is no recession. We should really all be worried about abortion rights and gun control laws in states. Yeah, right. That should be the overriding concern. Nothing else. When what I'm seeing is a complete political, structural, financial, economic, social, cultural breakdown is taking place, hidden in plain sight. Nearly 30% of Americans are open to taking up arms against government heading into the 2022 midterms. And this is based on the University of Chicago's Institute of Politics. This is certainly not a conservative university. This is not, right? This is certainly a much more, I would say, very liberal oriented university. And the results of their polling shows that a majority of Americans agree that the government is corrupt and rigged against everyday people like me. Nearly half of Americans, 49%, agreed that they more and more feel like a stranger in my own country. And 28% of voters, including 37%, who have guns in their homes, agree that it may be necessary at some point soon for citizens to take up arms against the government. Yeah, so this is a real research. I suggest anyone who's got doubts about this, read the entire report, right? The data clearly suggests extreme radical polarization occurring in the US politic and the body politic of the United States and its impact on Americans' relationship with each other. This is going to accelerate and intensify for the very same reasons we've been pointing out here with the US Pluto return, the transits that are going on, the global transits that are affecting the entire planet, along with what's happening economically. So we're seeing a cultural breakdown as well. Stagflation has officially arrived. So stagflation means what I've been saying for a while, where instead of prices going down as the economy is contracting, as economic activity slows down, prices go up. So you're getting hit on both ends. So we're seeing now, based on the Atlanta Fed GDP forecast data and the expected change in prices during next year, we're seeing a complete divergence where the GDP is going down and inflation or inflation expectation price projection data is moving upward. The last time we saw that was back in 1974. And here's the Biden bloodbath. The Biden bloodbath. So looking at Real Clear Politics, Trump job approval poll versus Biden's job approval polling data average. This is where Biden is at versus Trump this far into the administration. We're seeing a collapse. This is a collapse, folks. When I say the Democratic Party is in serious trouble, that's not because I'm partisan. That's simply just looking at the data, looking at the astrology, calling it as I see it, not allowing my partisanship override my astrology and my forecast. This is what I want to make clear to everybody. That's not happening in this membership, unlike other magazine publications. So what I'm doing here is showing you the data and then making forecasts based on that data by interpolating the data, the secular data, with the astrological portents. And then from there, we can make informed speculations and choices and decisions. So again, we could see how Biden compares to past presidents. He's underperforming Trump. He's underperforming Obama at this time in his presidency. He's vastly underperforming G.W. Bush. Who would have thought that, right? I mean, G.W. was certainly not the most competent presidents we've had in recent history. He's underperforming Bill Clinton, underperforming the first George Bush by large margins as well, underperforming Reagan, underperforming Jimmy Carter, underperforming Gerald Ford, and underperforming Richard Nixon. Now, this should not come as a surprise to the members here who've been members with, for the past couple of years. The reason being is last week I went into talking about the Zodiacal releasing of Joe Biden, and that Joe Biden would be going through an LB event in his Zodiacal releasing starting 2023, in the spring of 2023. Now, LBs, as I mentioned last time, the effect starts somewhere around 6 months, exactly 6 months prior. We get intimations, certain developments occur that will culminate into the LB, where we have a complete sort of like a slow rollout intro or prelude to the coming storm that occurs 6 months prior. And then, right, we have the first act that will start literally within days of the actual LB event itself. So if we go back 6 months, that's November. It's about the time of the midterms. We talked about that. Quick review, a person going through an LB. So positively, a person who's an established career can make a radical decision unexpectedly to leave at the very height of their career and go into another field entirely. Or the other option, or the other possibility, is a person who is in an established career and then hits a peak point and retires or is coerced by fate to leave his position, And one of the other manifestations is a sudden blow of fate, drastic changes in direction, a period of tremendous uncertainty when highly improbable but possible outcomes begin to occur repeatedly. The pace of outer events and dramatic developments that seem to accelerate and intensify begin to happen. We see a period where one is confronted with unexpected setbacks, losses, or terminations. It occurs the breakdown of existing forms such as a false persona or image that is tied up with one's profession. And it can coincide with psycho-spiritual death, rebirth struggles, come to Jesus moments. So there's no doubt here that something's up with the Biden presidency that's going to correlate with the US Pluto return. We're going to see intimations of that pick up and intensify. We're already seeing that happen now with 7 in 10 Americans, 71%, don't want Biden to run for re-election based on a Harvard CAPS Harris poll. This is certainly not a conservative pollster. They're very, very liberal pollster. So I was actually shocked to see the results of this poll where only 30% of Democrats would even vote for Biden in a Democratic presidential primary. So again, this all supports what I see happening, that the Biden presidency is losing its power. And as a result, the nation will begin to decline. The world will become more chaotic. The loss of US power and prestige at the very top of the bully pulpit of the White House will see a complete breakdown. And it's not just Biden. It has to do with the people around him. We're going to see massive incompetency, people fleeing, defecting. We're going to see people turning sides. They're going to be turning, right? We're going to see a lot of, very similar to what we saw at the final days of the Trump administration. We're going to see a lot of that playing itself out with Biden starting this summer.
To watch the full presentation and more like this on geopolitics, the economy, and world events from an archetypal and mundane astrological perspective, join the Global Transformation Astrology membership. Go to gta.williamstickevers.com. Become a GTA member today.